or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. Okay, before Terry McCormick joins us, maybe this is the first time you have seen this. If it is, react quickly. Next Wednesday, thanks to the folks at Wilson Bank and Trust, we will have another one of our sports speaker luncheons. Eli Gold, legendary University of Alabama play-by-play voice. Jeff Fisher, First Tennessee Titans head coach. They will speak right here on this stage, I guess you'd say. Fordyce Center in Bellevue at 11:30 in the morning. We'll run probably till about 12:45. Lunch is available if you so desire to purchase over at the bar area here at the Fordyce Center. So somebody knows about this luncheon, because before it's over, we're going to have at least 100 folks here for that. If you would like to be one of them, if this is the first time you've heard about this and you want to make some reservations, simply email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. A week from today, Eli and Jeff Fisher. That's going to be a winner. Let's say hello to Terry McCormick. Find out what he's up to. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing great, George. My Yankees are 10-2.
Yeah. Playing the Marlins.
The evil empire's back.
Oh, look. It's a long summer. Let's see how that crappy bullpen survives.
Our bullpen is pretty darn good, actually.
Oh, your closer is shaky.
Our closer's shaky. The setup guys are really good. But hear me out. They showed a stat last night that the Yankees, is the fourth time they've started 10-2 in a season. The other three times, they all went to the World Series.
There's a first for everything. God, are we going to have to hear this all summer?
Yes, you are.
I like it, Terry.
Terry, have you turned down the Kentucky basketball job?
Well, not yet.
Have you been called?
I'm still waiting by the phone. They have my number.
Really? Do they now? That's wonderful. So tell me what Brian Callahan had to say today.
Well, Brian Callahan was made available to us today, as were Denard Wilson and Nick Holtz, the coordinators. And Brian Callahan spoke to us about the start of the offseason program and just kind of implementing the new offensive and defensive special team schemes and all, and kind of getting guys going. And I guess they really started from basics. He said even everything from how they're going to line up in the huddle to how they're going to break the huddle. So laying every brick by brick, I guess, as they try to rebuild this thing and do it with a brand new offensive system and a new defensive system. And then they also addressed, some of the free agent signings that they have done and how some of the current pieces on the roster may fit going forward as well.
Are they absolutely done in free agency?
No, I don't think so. I think the draft will determine probably where else they need to add a piece or two, because they probably have still more holes to fill than they can do with 8 draft picks. So I still think they'll be active in the latter waves of free agency. There may be some guys who get cut post-draft or even post-June 1 in terms of salary cap situations. So they're going to keep things open and keep looking to fill holes on this roster, because they've got a lot of holes on the defensive side of the ball still. They obviously have to have some more help at offensive line, some more help at receiver. They only have 3 tight ends on the roster, so they're still going to be adding a lot even after the draft is over with.
Okay, so this is let me do this. Anything else that Coach Callahan said of note? And then we'll move to the coordinators.
Let's do that. He was asked about Will Levis, asked 2 or 3 questions about him. And he said that Will Levis is, an eager and active participant. He, certainly is displaying the traits that you would want in a leader and a quarterback. He's learning the system and learning, how to build relationships with his teammates as the leader of the football team. And those are all important elements if you're going to be a franchise quarterback. And I think he says that, that one of the biggest traits that he likes about Levis is the fact that the guy is willing to put in the work and wants to be good. He says when you have that, he says you can do some special things. So I think, he saw that obviously in, I guess, watching the tape of Levis, and now that he's gotten to know him, it seems to be reinforced that opinion that he had of him.
Okay, you want to move to the coordinators?
Sure, let's do that.
Let's go offensive coordinator first. What did Nick have to say?
Well, he was talking about, some of the big things that they still have to do. And he said one of the things that needs to be done is they still got to find somebody who can play that definitive slot receiver role. He mentioned Kyle Phillips. He mentioned Nick Westbrook-Akina. He mentioned Mason Kinsey. One name that he did not mention was Treylon Burks. But he did, when later asked about Treylon Burks, he said that, Burks is a very talented guy and that they just need to see it on the field. They need to see him, display the talents that they know he has on the field with production. Now, some of that's come, due to injury, obviously, but certainly with DeAndre Hopkins already here, Calvin Ridley coming on board, they're not going to look at Treylon Burks as a number 1 option, I don't believe, but it sounds like he's going to have to really show them something, even if he wants to be the number 3 option.
Okay, let's bring Kelly in on this conversation. Kelly, and look, by no means am I trying to cast aspersions here, because sometimes getting hurt is simply unlucky as opposed to lucky. But isn't Treylon Burks kind of at a point where he better show them something, or it's going to end up with another team down the road?
Yeah, it's put up or shut up year for him. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. At some point, it comes in everybody's career where you've got to show people. He's with a new coaching staff that did not draft him. He's got talent. Terry just talked about it. He does have talent, but you have to be a guy that is going to be on the field and consistently on the field. And it just seems there's guys that sometimes their career is just in that way. I played with a couple of guys like that. Courtney Brown was the number 1 pick in the draft, but he could not stay healthy. I mean, some guys just have the injury bug that you can't get over. But if he can and he can stay healthy, then he's got to go out there and he's got to show those guys that, hey, he can play and it's a different group of eyes now that's watching him and evaluating him right now. And when they bring you in, they're part of you're part of their guys. But when you're a holdover, you've got to re-show those guys, hey, I was here for a reason. I was brought here for a reason. And if you're injured all the time, which he's been that way, that's a hard thing to overcome, George. I really like him. I think he's a really good player. But until you show this new coaching staff, until you actually do it under the lights out there with the team, it's hard. It's hard to overcome.
So, Terry, go ahead.
Well, here's another part of that equation, Kelly. He's been pretty much, they've counted on him to be a number 1 or number 2 receiver since they drafted him right after they traded A.J. Brown. Well, that's no longer the possibility. So, with Ridley and Hopkins here, unless one of them gets hurt or doesn't work out or whatever. So with Burks, he's now at a point of his career where he's no longer, as you kind of stated, no longer the fair-haired guy who's going to get every break and every opportunity. And, he may have to do things that he never dreamed possible when he was drafted. Like he may have to learn how to run down and cover a punt for some reason.
Correct. That's correct, man. That's absolutely right. I've seen guys get in situations like that where they've got to be humbled a little bit and they got to say, well, I'm not the number 1 guy anymore. You've got Calvin Ridley, who is obviously a proven commodity. You've got Hopkins as well, so they can show him how to be a professional. But when you're in the situation he's got to, there's only so many roster spots, and you have to play special teams if you're not a number 1 or number 2 guy. So you're absolutely right, Terry. He might have to do that. And some guys, when they're drafted like that and they got the egos and they're paid a lot of money, they're not willing to do that. And if you're not, that could be a quick way out the door.
Okay, I'm going to play dumb here, which I'm really good at. And Kelly, you're going to educate us in a minute. So get ready. That's a scary thing.
That's scary. Very.
Terry, under the slot receiver thing, you named a couple of guys that we see every August, and then we really don't hear a lot after that, in Kinsey and Kyle Phillips. Again, not casting any aspersions. It's just the truth, and some of it's bad injury luck, whatever the case. Are they actively looking in the market for a slot guy?
I think you'll see them address receiver somewhere in the draft. I think it may not be a first-round pick unless it's a Malik Neighbors or somebody sitting there that they can't pass up. But I think you will see them address the receiver position in the draft. And I think the reason for that is they want to continue to add guys who can run, guys who are fast, guys who are explosive with the football in their hands. And I think that while there will be a role for a guy like Kyle Phillips, if he shows up in camp and is healthy and does well, he can be a chain mover, which was what he was kind of drafted to be anyway. But I don't know that, it's going to be a big role if they can find somebody who is really explosive and really fast in this draft.
Okay, Kelly, here comes the educational part of our show. It won't take very long.
Be careful, George. Be careful.
Are we on PBS now, George?
We absolutely are. This will be great. Okay. So for the person out there who says, come on, you can just put anybody in the slot. They're all receivers. Okay. Tell me what qualities a slot guy has to have that a guy on the outside maybe does not.
You got to have some. Get open capabilities. You've got to be able to run option routes. You've got to be able to understand defense. A lot of times, guys, that are outside, they don't run option routes. They don't understand that stuff. And you have to be really smart. You look at Wes Welker back in the day. He really took that slot position to a different level. I mean, he was kind of a mismatch. You put DBs on him, well, he can run routes. You put linebackers out there on him, he's going to kill that guy with option routes and things like that. Or Julian, the guy, the Edelman guy for New England, who was there for a while, they couldn't cover. They knew he was going to get the ball. He would run drag routes. He would run choice routes. He would run jerk routes. He would run all those kind of things. So you have to be kind of a shifty guy who can move, who can read a defense. That's the biggest thing. The best guy I ever had reading defenses was a running back, and that was Marshall Faulk. He's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. But he knew how to, when we said H option, which was the running back position, it was the H back. And we would say H option. He knew when to hook up. He knew when to cut it outside. He knew when to turn inside. He knew when to run a seam. He was really smart about that. So it takes on a different definition when you come inside, because there's a lot of things that you have to understand about what the coach wants and what the defense is giving you. So you got to use your brain quite a bit.
2 weeks from tomorrow, we'll know the answer for sure. But Terry, do you believe that the Titans have already made the decision that if Alt is available, the kid out of Notre Dame, that he will be their pick at number 7?
I don't think it's 100% etched in stone, but I certainly think that would be the way that they probably are leaning, because he's a blue chip talent. You've got one of the best offensive line coaches now in the NFL, and Bill Callahan, Brian's father. It would be very hard to pass up if he's sitting there at number 7, especially if one of the top receivers is gone, and also especially now that you've signed Calvin Ridley, who is a speed guy, who is a number 1 type receiver. That is not necessarily a glaring need the way it was before you went and brought him in. Now, adding to what Kelly said too, Nick Holtz said that Calvin Ridley would not necessarily be restricted to the outside. He said he's a great route runner. He's got speed. He said he's a guy who can win in the slot when you put him in there.
And that could be another thing right there where you could, if Traylon Burks shows something, you could put him outside and bring Calvin Ridley maybe inside, maybe switch him up. There's all things you can do, formation-wise with getting guys outside and inside just by the call in the huddle. So I like that. And Traylon Burks is a bigger guy. I wouldn't see him being a slot guy, but I could definitely see Calvin Ridley being in there, because he's that guy that's really fast, that's shifty. He's been in it long enough. He played at Alabama. He understands defense. He knows what the coach wants. So I could that would be a situation right there that would suit the Titans really well.
And they're going to run 11 as their base personnel. So they're going to have 3 wide receivers on the field the majority of the time, unless it's an obvious running situation.
Right.
Okay, let's go ahead, Billy.
I was going to ask Terry this.
Get yourself in the picture. Get a little airtime.
Yeah, hold on.
Put your glasses on. For God's sakes, be ready.
Wake up, Billy.
With the Titans, and they've been so infiltrated by Mike Vrabel's system offensively. How much of an adjustment is that going to be for the players, for the offensive personnel, or am I overlooking that?
No, you're not. I mean, it's basically relearning how to ride the bicycle, for lack of a better term. They are changing pretty much all the concepts, all the thought process that they had under Mike Vrabel and under Tim Kelly, and before that under Todd Downing and even Arthur Smith. So you're going to a pass-first offense that's going to be centered around your quarterback, Will Levis, and his ability to read the defense, his ability to make good decisions, his ability to get the ball into the hands of not only Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins or Traylon Burks, but to get it into the hands of Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears and Chig Okonkwo and whoever else that they might draft and add to this offense. So that's going to be, the focal point now. And that is a complete 180 from how they have done it here for the better part of 25 years, where it's been a power rushing attack first, and then you play action off of that and try to create explosive plays out of that. You're going to see them throw more and try to exploit matchups on the front end rather than wait for those opportunities out of play action. Is that right, Kelly?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, guys, they're bringing in a lot of new guys too. So, I mean, they're going to be used to it. They've been in a lot, Calvin Ridley's been in quite a few offenses. So it's just going to be like water off the back to a duck with him. I mean, he's going to figure it out. Plus he's a pro. So, I'm just interested to see how, because you're right, Terry, I've been so used to Vrabel, so used to Jeff Fisher with Eddie George and all this running thing. That's what the Titans have been since they've been here. And they're kind of moving in a different area. And I think it's going to be good for the fans. I think it's going to be a pleasant surprise to the fans thinking, hey, we're in the new age of football now. We're not in the Stone Ages anymore. And I think that's going to be a welcome sight to the fans.
However, man cannot live by offense alone. We will talk Titans defense with Kelly Holcomb, who knows nothing about defense.
No. I do know a lot about defense. Just never wanted to play defense. Wasn't fast enough and didn't want to hit anybody.
And Terry McCormick, who's going to lay some defensive news on us. Please stick around.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Hard to believe the NFL draft is 2 weeks from tomorrow. That is a little bit shocking. Anyway, we've talked nothing but offense about trying to spiff up the Titans under a new head coach in Brian Callahan. In the middle is Kelly Holcomb, Terry McCormick, Main Street Media in the right box. Terry, defensively, what did Denard have to say today? And then we'll take it from there.
Well, I think one of the first things he was asked about this was the whole Denard Wilson thing. I think both he and Brian Callahan are smiling ear to ear, knowing that they have secured what they feel like is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL in terms of being a lockdown guy who can play man-to-man and really kind of help dictate what you want to do as a defense to an offense. It's sort of like for lack of a better term, we've seen the Titans when the defense has been really good. They've had a guy who could do that, whether it was a Samari Rolle, a Cortland Finnegan, or for a brief time, Pac-Man Jones, be able to make explosive plays from that defensive back position, not just with interceptions, but with the ability to shut down a number one option. It's almost like in basketball when you play a box and one and you say, okay, we're taking this guy away, beat us with somebody else. And that's the type of thing that L'Jarius Sneed can potentially bring to the table for this defense.
Kelly, isn't it almost like chopping the field, maybe not in half, but maybe 40-60 when you've got a shutdown?
Well, I promise you this, when you got a guy that is really good at covering and you've got a play that's called to his side and you're thinking about throwing over there, you better be on your game because those guys are really good. And a funny story, I was just thinking about this, but a funny story a long time ago about Primetime. Primetime left San Francisco and he went to Dallas, I think. And they were in there and they were having a meeting with Primetime and they were going over all these coverages and doing all this. And Primetime said, hold up, man. What are we talking about here? He's like, I'm teaching you all this. He's like, man, just tell me who I got. And that's what you think about when you think about a corner. I mean, a shutdown corner. They're not worried about. They're just, hey, they're locked in on that guy. And in our meetings at the beginning of the week, they would say, this guy right here can play. And if you throw the ball over here, if you're late, if you're behind, he's going to pick that thing off. And I think Terry's right. I think they've got one of the better ones in the league. And I don't think the Titans have had that in a while.
Terry, was it simply that they could offer more money because of all the salary cap room? How did they get him?
Yeah, I think that was a big part of it. And I think that that's a guy that, even though he had the franchise tag on him, Brian Callahan talked about how difficult playing against Sneed was in the matchups when he was with the Bengals and they would go against Kansas City. And this was a guy that he really wanted. And Rand Carthon and Vin Marino, who is their capologist, they were able to structure it in a way to make it happen and not give up very much draft capital in the process.
Okay. Lost in the shuffle of Vrabel being shown the door is the fact that a very productive Titan until the end, Teair Tart, was shown the door. Now, I'm not there every day to know was it justified or not. First of all, Terry, have they had any thoughts about bringing him back?
No, he's actually signed with the Miami Dolphins, signed a one-year deal, kind of in a situation where wore out his welcome here, got into Vrabel's doghouse, couldn't get out, wound up in Houston, was kind of in and out of the lineup there over the last 3 or 4 weeks, but they chose not to extend him. He went to the Dolphins, and as big a loss as Tart is or was, I think losing Danico Autry is probably a bigger one, George, because this is a guy who had, I think, 11 sacks this past year, and he had that versatility. He wasn't pigeonholed into just being a 5 technique defensive end, like a lot of guys his size are. He could stand up on the edge and rush the quarterback from the outside linebacker position. And I think that that's one of the things. He was a guy that they wanted to retain. And they basically said that once he went out the door, that gave them the money to be able to go get Calvin Ridley. So you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. But with that type of situation, you still need somebody who can play that role, that versatility, and give you that additional rusher in addition to Harold Landry on the edge and Jeffrey Simmons from the interior.
Okay, in your opinion, now has it all shifted to offensive line with the first pick, if it's alt, and then a second pick is defense, interior line?
Could be interior line, could be edge rusher, that sort of thing. I think you wait a little bit before you go get another inside linebacker or a safety. Obviously, the talent is going to play into it too. If there's a receiver there who's, I'll look at it this way. If there is a guy who is glaringly better than anybody else at 38, maybe you jump out and get him, sort of like how they went and traded up for Levis last year when they knew he had a first-round grade on their board and he was still sitting there at the top of the second round. So to me, you're looking for somebody if it can be a need position of edge rusher or defensive line, absolutely you're doing that. Or even cornerback, because you can never have enough good corners, even though you kind of solved that with the Snead trade and the signing of Cheeto Awuzie. So to me, you start to hone in on needs unless there's a talent there that says, no, we got to take this. You have to play the board first and need second. But when you're looking at need and if the two intersect, that's the best of all possible worlds there. You go get a need player who's high on your board and you plug and play it.
Okay, I asked Billy to put 4 pictures together of defensive linemen. And Terry, if you will, just give me a little bit of a capsule comment. I'll start with Texas Longhorn, which means he knows how to do that. Defensive lineman Byron Murphy.
All right. Well, he's, I'll admit to you, George, I am not a huge draft nick guy, but, this is, anybody that plays for the Texas Longhorns, that there's going to be a lot of 4- and 5-star athletes there that come in ready to play in the NFL. It's got the size, got the strength that you want. Probably going to be more of an interior guy than a guy who can bounce out on the edge.
Okay, I'm going to toss a second one out there, and I'm not going to say his name very well. It's an Illinois defensive lineman, Jerzon Newton.
All right. Well, I do have a cheat sheet here, George, and I may just refer to it, and Mr. Newton is on the cheat sheet.
What is Mr. Newton? What does it say about Mr. Newton?
Says that he has dynamic play despite being a smaller size lineman. So this is a guy that could go in the first round. He's ranked, according to NFL Draft Buzz. Give them a brief little shout out. He's ranked as their 3rd best defensive lineman in this draft. And knowing how valuable that D linemen are, there's a chance that he won't be there at 38 if he's that highly rated.
Okay, when Florida State was going hot and heavy and undefeated most of the season, there was a kid nobody could block, Braden Fisk. And tell me what you guys know about him.
All right, well, he's part of a tandem there at Florida State. Florida State had 2 guys that are both draft eligible. One of them is Jared Verse, who's ranked number 2 overall at defensive end. And Fisk is the second guy of this tandem. And he certainly is a guy that has, shown that he can go after the quarterback and really disrupt things in the backfield. The draft report here from Draft Buzz says that he has a relentless motor, which is something that defensive line coaches like Tracy Rocker are always going to gravitate to and stick up for. So this is a guy, and I guess the one thing that I would have to say, and the same thing true with the guy from Penn State. I don't know if that's, who you've got listed on the list as your number 4 guy, George, but Florida State and Penn State each had 2 rushers, one on each side, and they played off of each other. So the scouting, the secret with the scouts and the coaches is you have to figure out, is one guy helping the other more than the other guy is helping one? Does that make sense? Is one guy pushing everything to this guy's side and he's cleaning up and getting the stats? Or are they equally disruptive and able to pressure the quarterback at sort of an equal rate? So that, I would wonder if either of these guys, how they would do on their own. Now, obviously, if they come here, they're going to have Simmons and Landry to help them out. So maybe it's a little bit of a moot point there. But when you have 2 guys, you really have to pay attention and make sure that one is just not, cleaning up because the other guy was more disruptive.
It's a really good point, Kelly.
Take Verse out of that Florida State line. Is Fisk still as productive? That's a good point.
Well, it's the guessing game.
Yeah.
That's the thing about the draft, and I like this guy. I like both him and Jared Verse. They were both portal guys. Jared Verse was at the University of Albany, and Mike Norvell and those guys found him, and brought him to Florida State. So the same thing with this young guy right here. So I like both of them, and I'll say this: that I watched them play. It didn't matter if they were on the same team or not. Those guys are going to get back there in the backfield. I promise you.
So I want to ask all 3 of you this question. That, by the way, is Clemson defensive lineman. I'm going to really butcher this one. Ruke Oroboro.
No.
Okay, then
It's
say it.
Rook Ororo.
Well, okay, well, that's close enough. Good enough.
That was the most fun name to hear on the TV.
Don't let facts get in the way of a good story. Is he? Where do we find him in the cheat sheet?
On the cheat sheet, he is number 12 overall.
Okay.
So he's a guy that has a lot of strength, athleticism, and versatility. He's one of those guys that maybe you could get a little later on in the draft. Maybe you could get him, maybe he's not number 38. Maybe he's a third rounder if you had one, or maybe he's a fourth rounder early if he starts to fall. But he is a really talented kid and certainly could be a productive player in the right system, it feels like, George.
Say his name again, Billy.
Rook Ororo. I think it's actually 3.
What was that?
I think it's actually Oro.
You sound
like Elmer Fudd, dude.
Okay, let me ask this question. Have all of us seen the movie Draft Day?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah,
I loved it. I thought it was a great
I'm sure you did.
Okay. Other than Costner, firing his dad and then getting into it with his mom about taking the ashes out on the practice field, how stressful, how truthful do you think that movie is to what the first day of the draft really is?
I'm sure it's probably got a little bit of Hollywood embellishment in it, like they all
Pretty
do.
much so.
Well, I knew Kelly was going to dust it.
I mean, it's stressful. It's stressful that day because you're not sure and you don't know where you're going to go. Especially, we saw last year what happened to Will Levis. They thought he might be the number 1 pick, and then he fell to the second round. So it's a stressful day for some guys. It was a stressful day for me. It was a stressful couple of days for me. So yeah, it's tough. But like in that movie, George, you're not going to have firsthand access to the general manager and just call him like the young kid in Draft Day does. You're not going to do that. Sorry.
So
and here's the other thing too, and you got to know this as well, George. And I think Kelly will agree with me here. The information that the Mel Kipers and the Ian Rappaports and the Schefters and all these guys,
the hair,
it is more agent driven than anything else.
Yeah.
They're all trying to get their guys pumped up and in the right situation, blah, 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 blah. And there are guys who will be hyped in these mock drafts as first round picks in the general. And there are certain guys that GMs will probably laugh and go, yeah, right. Think about just Malik Willis. Everybody was saying he's going in the top 15. He lasted until the third round.
Also in the movie, Roger Goodell walked to the podium and the fans were cheering. That was not accurate.
No, it may require a redo.
Hey Terry, I got one question. Are you hearing anything? Do you think that they'll do anything with that draft pick of trading down? Like, I know that I've heard that Rand Carthon, we don't know what Rand Carthon thinks, but I've heard that he loves Joe Alt. So is that where it stops, or do you think that they may with all the tackles that they've got in the draft this year? I mean, is that a perfect place for them to use that as trade bait and trade back so they can get some more picks and they can get a top tackle if they want it?
It's possible, I guess, if Alt started to slip down the board and the quarterback run lasted into the 4th pick, and then you're starting to see Harrison and Neighbors go at 5 and 6 as opposed to 3 and 4 or whatever. I guess that would be possible. I think it's more likely that they trade back from 38.
Okay.
Pick up that 3rd round pick and maybe go back to the mid 40s or something in the 2nd round and then recoup that 3rd round pick if they can.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. Terry, thank you as always. Appreciate it. We'll talk again, I bet, next week.
I bet we will.
Especially if the Yankees are 17-2.
Yes. I'll call you up instead of having you call me.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Text him at 2 a.m, Terry, please.
Call me
I think I
collect.
will.
Call me
I'll wait till they
collect.
win a West Coast game, and I'll text him and say, "Hey, George, Yankees beat the Angels."
By the way, when I said call me collect, Billy goes, "What's collect?"
I knew he was going to say that. Does anybody call collect? Is that even a feature anymore?
I think that's a thing
we're,
anymore.
we're not in the 1970s anymore, so no.
Thank you, Billy.
Billy, you're awake. That's a positive.
Kelly, shut your mouth.
We'll go to the break. We'll have stat of the day, and then McGee will join us. By the way, Terry's segment sponsored. Did you remember that? No, apparently you didn't. Yeah. Go on.
Can you just read it?
Well, sure I can, because I'm a pro. It's brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You see her number on the screen, 615-969-4350. With interest rates going down, you might want to call her because the options way better than they were a year ago. Stat of the day is next.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Yo, you want to see something cool? No? Well, I'm going to do it anyway.
Step into the scene! No, nobody can do it like me. Zoop house plate with the kick cuisine. I was the black top king, 360s in my green machine. I was a kid and I was breaking down doors. Listening to Tribe, now we on a world tour.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Top of the hour on a Wednesday. We're talking Preds with Mark McGee coming up. But first, stat of the day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call, 931-492-4304. All right, here we go. We're going NFL draft theme. With a loaded 2024 NFL quarterback class, there's a chance we see 3 quarterbacks taken with the top 3 picks. When was the last time that happened?
So, Kelly, I'm guessing it's later than this, but in 84, didn't that happen? The Kenny O'Brien, Marino,
yes.
Tony Eason, all those guys?
Yes, and then, well, I think Marino didn't go to the 16th pick, though.
Yeah, he was very late.
Yeah, he was very late. He had a situation like Aaron Rodgers or Will Levis didn't obviously go that late, but I think you may be right. Was it 83 or 84?
Oh, gosh. You might be right. It may have been 83. I just remember there were some very unfair drug rumors linked to Marino.
Oh, okay, so hold on. Okay, so what about Tim Couch, Donovan McNabb, Akili Smith?
Let's go with it.
Boom.
Wow.
Boy, Kel.
There you go, baby.
I wonder why you knew that one.
Couchy.
So,
my man Couchy. I just talked to Couchy yesterday.
Okay, were you in Cleveland when he got drafted?
I was. No. I was in Indianapolis. I was in Indianapolis from 95 really to 2000. And Bruce Arians, which was my quarterback coach in Indianapolis under Tom Moore, he became the offensive coordinator at Cleveland with Butch Davis. And I can remember talking when Tim got drafted. I can remember talking to Bruce, talking about how all that win, and then Bruce brought me in 2000.
What happened to Akili Smith?
He flamed out.
Yeah, I don't know where old Akili is, man. Couldn't tell you. I don't even know what happened. You know, Donovan was on. I think he was on the NFL Network, or he was on something doing stuff, and he's kind of disappeared as well.
So if Couch had gotten drafted by a team that really had its stuff together and had a lot of talent around him, would his career have been different?
Probably, yeah. Tim was an athletic guy. Now, I mean, I can remember
big time.
I can remember going. Yeah, I can remember going to me and him and 2 other guys. We went and played at Baldwin Wallace College down the street, and Tim was telling me all his stuff, and like Tim could shoot. Like he was a really good basketball player too. So Tim was a good athlete. So yeah, he probably could have. I mean, we just didn't have guys around us, and even while we were there, they decided not to get guys around us.
Before we do anything else, and let me say thank you to Shaker for reminding me of this. We lost a good man yesterday in Bart Durham, and obviously his son Blair has been a close friend of mine for years. The last time we did a show at their new digs, Bart came on. And it was good to see him. I just want to let the family know we're thinking about him. In particular, my buddy Blair. As I said to him yesterday in a text, your dad was so proud of you. And he was. And a good man.
Yeah. My wife told me that yesterday, and it was kind of, I was like, dang, I can't believe he passed away. He was 89,
88, 89, something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Got to meet him too, and I mean, thanks for them. I mean, he coming on the show was funny because he wanted to be a part of it, but glad we got to do that show over there.
Okay, a little late to the party, but we welcome all of you into the 3:00 hour from our digs at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. We say hello to the one and only McGee, Mark McGee, talking Nashville Predator hockey. McGee, how are you?
I'm okay.
Were you there last night?
I wasn't. I'm having some real issues with my mother. I'm not anywhere right now, so it's up there. I'm sorry. I wanted to be there last night, but I can't. I got to choose family first.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
I watched the highlights on it. So,
I'm thinking about you, and I'll holler at you after we get off the air.
Okay,
Mark,
yeah, I'll fill you in on this one.
it was basically a playoff game this night. In the third period, they got 2 standing ovations in a scenario where you really couldn't see the comeback coming because they had gotten nothing done. Hellebuck, might as well have been Cy Young.
Well, he's close to it. I mean, 48 shots, he turns back 45 of them. He is awesome, has been. I mean, if he doesn't get the Vezina, I'll be shocked. He's such an outstanding goaltender. But it kind of showed what he could do last night. But you're right. I mean, I've watched a lot of the highlights of it. And I mean, you get down 3-1 in the first period and wind up tying it back up and taking it into overtime. I mean, the Predators are just one thing they're showing. And I know Kelly will ask me this probably too, but one of the things that they're showing is they're not giving up. They're not going down to the final buzzer. It just makes it. I mean, they're just not giving up on, and that's what's carrying them right now. Is they're just refusing to back down, and and that's what's been impressive. I mean, of course, they only need the point last night to get in the playoffs, but now we're there. They're there, so let's see what happens from that standpoint.
Okay, now you won't be able to see this stuff, so I'll kind of read it to you. But the folks who are watching this, whether live or later, here's what's going on. The Preds have played 1 more game than the LA Kings, and at the moment, 2 more than Vegas. Vegas plays at Edmonton tonight, and if you're a Preds fan and you want them to get in the 7 hole, Vegas needs to lose tonight to Edmonton, pure and simple. Guy, the things they've got going for them is basically that the first tiebreaker is Nashville's by a mile, which is regulation victories. They're way ahead of both of these teams.
True. That's true from that standpoint. Right now, based on what you said, if the bracket right now looks like this, the Canucks playing Vancouver Canucks playing the Vegas Knights as Vegas being the wild card 2. The Avalanche and the Winnipeg Jets playing also in that bracket as the number 2 and number 3 teams in the Central. In the other bracket, the Oilers and the Kings would be number 2, number 3 in the Pacific, and the Stars, number 1 in the Central, would play the Preds.
Gee, that's not true. Nashville right now is in the 7 hole.
Right now they are. I said, yeah, but I said if it changed around.
Oh, okay.
If it,
now,
I said if it changed around. So
those of you watching this graphic understand, Billy, only one of those 2 teams, the Predators only have to beat one of the 2 to get in the 7 hole, because one of those teams will be the 3rd in their own division. I know it's clear as mud. It's a messed up. Why have they got this convoluted? Why have they got this system?
Get more teams in.
There's lots of talk about changing the playoff system.
Well, don't you think it needs to happen?
I think so, but a lot of people are against changing it, but I think it needs to be changed. So there's got to be some better way of doing it, what they're doing it right now from that standpoint. But, the Kings or Vegas, either one could be 3rd right now from that standpoint. So in the Pacific. So it's hard to say. I don't know. Do you play Vancouver? You play Vancouver and beat them, and Vancouver's very beatable. Probably the weakest of the 2, the Stars or the Canucks, as far as the top number 1 picks, number 1s in their divisions. You got the travel, that type of thing to deal with. Okay, but if you win, you got to play the winner of the Avalanche and the Jets. So, so I don't know, because in other division, if you win, in another bracket, if you win, you play the winner of the Oilers Kings, and I think I'd rather play the winner of the Oilers Kings if that's the way it's set up. I know it's all changed, but I think I'd rather play the winner of that series in the second round than I would the winner of the Avalanche Winnipeg Jets series. So I mean, I'd say it's interesting the way it could set up. I was just figuring up in the bracket today, looking at a couple of potential brackets, and I thought, well, which one do you want to do? Because I think the Stars are beatable. That the Preds played them pretty well this year, so I don't know.
The West is an absolute beast. We know that. Now I'm going to put I'm going to put the schedules up of the three teams that are battling it out to see who's going to be number 7. Billy, if we can, let's put those up there. So on the Preds side, Guy, they go to Chicago Friday night, come home for Columbus on Saturday, and then they go to Pittsburgh to close out their regular season on Monday. Would you agree with me? They've got to have either 4 or 5 points out of those possible 6.
And they should. Columbus is Columbus. They should be able to beat Columbus. And Chicago has struggled all season. They should beat those are 2 very winnable games, even though they are back-to-back. And Pittsburgh can still the Eastern Conference has still got some issues as far as who's going to be where. And Pittsburgh has all of a sudden got back into the picture, so that game could be big for Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Now on the LA Kings front, last night Anaheim did the Preds a big favor and shocked the Kings in Anaheim. But from here on in, Guy, it's all home games for the Kings. Calgary, or as Crispy says it, Calgary, Anaheim, Minnesota, and Chicago. Pretty easy stuff.
Yeah, all teams with nothing to lose and have lost a lot this year because so. Yeah, I mean those are 3 pretty weak sisters right there.
On Vegas's front, if you're a Preds fan, they've got to lose tonight in Edmonton. That's simply a must.
It's a lot tougher. This is a tougher of the 3.
Yeah.
And 2 more games than the Preds.
Then 4 home games in a row. Minnesota, Colorado, which will not be easy, Chicago, Anaheim, which could be.
But the fact they've got so many games at the end like that could be kind of a tiresome time for them too. It's a pretty weird part of the season. They've got a lot of people talk about this even like mid-season, what Edmonton had at the end there, because it's a little. Even though the teams are not that tough overall, except the Avalanche, but that's pretty good little gauntlet to run through right before the playoffs start.
Yeah, it's every other day.
Yeah, Guy, am I overlooking this? Because the Preds' last game is the 15th, but the Kings and the Knights' last game is the 18th. That's got to be an advantage for the Preds.
First of all, why did it turn out that way?
I'm not sure. The scheduling situation is crazy for the NHL. I scratch my head lots of times with some of the travel situations and that type of thing. But yeah, they'll have a chance to rest some people up. And really, you have to wonder: are they going to rest some people the rest of the way? I mean, are they? I think they're going to really try to make sure they lock in that 7th spot. But some people are saying, well, they're in the playoffs, so why don't they let Saros rest a little bit? Why don't they do this, that, or the other? And so I don't know what they'll do from that angle, but I think they haven't cinched the 7th spot yet. So I think they still have to look at that. I think they still have to play most of the top people right now until that happens.
I'll turn this over to Kelly in just a second. I want to get your opinion on this. There's no doubt that the Preds' highlight to their season was that long streak where they got at least a point every night. Since that thing got scrapped in Arizona, I don't think they've played as well. What do you think?
No, I don't think so. They've lost 3 of the last 4 games. And yeah, I don't think they played as well either. But I think that they had to have a lull. You can't play like that every game. I mean, they had to have a lull of some sort along the way. You got to remember, this team started out 5-10-0.
Gosh,
who would have thought they'd be where they are now? They were, So, no, I'm not concerned about that much right now because I feel like they've got. Really, when you look at them, they've got everything they need right now. They've got top line, which has stayed together most of the year. I think that Ronald Raleigh, Gus Nyquist, and Forsberg have played together now. They've got the second most minutes played together this season as a line. And so, they and Brunette stuck with them, and that they played well. But the depth guys are coming through again. We've talked about depth a lot on here. That sometimes the depth has been there, sometimes not. Right now, the depth is there. A lot of players are stepping up and performing, and I think that's the key right now. They got the depth, and defensively, they're getting a little healthier. I think defensively they're going to be strong. I think they're set up to be a real spoiler if they want to be in the playoffs.
Kelly, say hello to Gee.
Well, Guy, you've done a really good job of answering all my questions, so I'm not sure where to go here. So I've got two questions, and one of them I've already forgotten because I think you just answered it. But when you're looking back at the beginning of the year, yeah, I'm sure you and George and all the Predator fans would have taken this. They had a new team, a new GM, a new coach. Nobody really knew, but you would absolutely take where they're at right now? Because I don't think anybody thought that the Predators at the beginning of the season were a playoff team. Correct?
Oh no. It looked like it was going to be maybe 2 or 3 years down the road before they were a playoff team again. It was a rebuild, reset, whatever you want to call it. That's what it was beginning to look like. But Barry Trotz comes up with, Ryan O'Reilly's a huge signing. Gus Nyquist was a huge addition in the offseason. So, he picked some right people. He saw something in Nyquist a lot of people had not seen. A lot of people thought Nyquist and O'Reilly were on the downhill slide of their careers. And now, and Nyquist has had set new career highs. And Ryan O'Reilly really doesn't get the credit he deserves. Ryan O'Reilly is really the glue of that team. A lot of people forget he was on the 2019 St. Louis Blues team that came out of nowhere and won the Stanley Cup. He does a little bit of everything. I think, a lot of people think Forsberg makes O'Reilly better, but I think O'Reilly makes Forsberg better in a lot of ways. I think he's really the glue for this team. He's a power play scorer. He wins almost every face-off that he gets. I just think he is he was a huge solid addition there. And of course, Nyquist has been a bigger surprise because nobody expected this type of season out of him. He was not considered to be a number one line type forward when he came over.
So my last question is: so this is your opinion? Obviously, you talked about how these guys never give up. Is that a deal of the coach? Is that a deal of the leaders? Is that a deal of the team understanding that they can trust the coach now? Because there's something that goes about that. When you get a new coach, even when I played, you get a new coach and you're trying to do your best, but you're not sure that you can trust what they're doing. But with them not giving up, that's all the fans want to see. That's all we want to see, whether you win or lose. Want to see that's a team that's out there on the ice. And they're not giving up. So you think that's a little bit of captains, Andrew Burnett? What is it?
Well, I think Andrew Burnett made a statement. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He said that, well, it was actually around the time of the 18-point run. He said, at the beginning, I tell these guys to do something. They go, why? Because they never had done it before.
Right.
And he said, no, why you want us to do that? And so finally I got them to do it. And they had success, and they go, oh, okay, I can do that. So they started to trust what he was telling them, and I think that built confidence. I think that confidence built a resilience in them, saying, hey, we can do this. But it took a while for him to get this team acclimated to what he wanted to do. And, because it was such a change from what they'd had in the last couple of years. And, it was such a big difference. And he was saying that big thing, there was like, well, why should we do this or why should we do that? He had to really try to prove it to them or have them prove it to themselves that what he was saying worked. And it did. Gotcha. And finally they believed that.
Gotcha. Well, I hope your mom gets better, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's not going to happen, but I appreciate the thought.
Absolutely.
Guy will be thinking about you. Go ahead.
Quick thing. I got to throw out maybe a news splash for people. The NHL schedule makers, we're talking about the schedule a minute ago. They're making a schedule for next year that has the Arizona Coyotes playing in Salt Lake City.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, looks like it's gonna happen.
Wow.
Interesting.
That is some breaking stuff.
Breaking news
The
from
Jazz
Gee.
owner really wants the NHL in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City, Salt Lake City gold miners,
which
I
will
think that's what they should
also
call it.
help their bid to get a Major League Baseball expansion franchise.
Exactly. Yes, yeah. So, but yeah, they're making two schedules out. One with the team playing in Arizona, and one with the team playing in Salt Lake City. But a couple of people in the know said just about 30 minutes ago that see ya in Salt Lake City in October.
Interesting.
Wow.
Guy, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mark McGee joining us on the show. After the break, you'll know officially that we're taking the Edmonton Oilers tonight against Vegas. So stick around.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
The George Plaster Show is Nashville's best sports talk, 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. There's a podcast version available on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs.
Final segment on a Wednesday. It's time for Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. All right, let's check out what happened last night. The Preds took the loss.
The big L. There
A
it
big
is.
L.
Bright red. L. You know what, though? It had a little W feel to it.
This is the one loss that doesn't matter. Oh, well, technically it does, but
let's see.
you still got the point.
So if you're a Preds fan and you want this team to end up in the 7 hole, then the bet that I'm about to throw out there is the one you need to watch closely. Go. So we're taking Edmonton at home. Connor McDavid's gotten hurt. Leon Draisaitl suddenly has to kind of take over the offensive attack for the Oilers. They're still good enough to beat Vegas. If you want to see the game, 7:30 tonight on TNT. We're a full-service deal here.
I know you are, George. You absolutely are. Now, if we could get Billy to stay awake for the whole session, would be just great.
Billy, when he says that, do you plead guilty?
Yes.
Really?
At least for that one moment that he's talking about specifically. I'll take the blame for that.
That is shameful. Oh my God. What are we going to do?
He's not on his toes, man. It's a straight gym shoe operation at Walmart.
But now he has no choice since you're going to be gone for a few days.
Has no choice. Billy, I won't be bragging you as bad. Sorry.
Thank
I know
goodness.
you're going to miss me.
Billy, are you happy? Are you happy with this news?
I am.
Now look into the camera, put your face on, and let me ask the question. Are you happy that Kelly will not be with us for a few days?
Yes.
have mommy put a little extra sugar in your warm milk at nighttime, okay? Get you to sleep a little better. Make the tummy ache.
It's always good to get helpful hints from Scrooge.
Yes.
Kelly, safe travels.
See you.
I have a feeling we'll talk.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. See you.
And see all of you as well. Go Edmonton Oilers. Beat Vegas tonight. See you tomorrow.